Welcome to the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, episode number 24. A film is, or should be, more like music than like fiction. It should be a progression of moods and feelings, the theme, what's behind the emotion, the meaning, all that comes later. Stanley Kubrick.
Broadcasting from the back alley in Hollywood, it's the Indie Film Hustle Podcast, where we show you how to survive and thrive as an indie filmmaker in the jungles of the film biz. And here's your host, Alex Ferrari.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am your humble host, Alex Ferrari. Don't forget to head over to freefilmbook.com. That's freefilmbook.com to download your free audiobook from audible.com. So this episode today, I wanted to talk about a question that I get asked a ton. It's something that I did almost 10 years ago now, almost 11 years ago at this point. And I talk a lot about this little short film. I think it's the most talked about short film in history. But my film that I did 10 years ago called Broken, I was able to do something very special with that film back then and continue to do stuff with that film and my other works today. And I wanted to share with you guys a little bit of how I was able to generate a substantial amount of money selling and self-distributing Broken and now my other works as well. So when I created Broken, it was a short, I'll give you a quick story about it if I haven't mentioned it already on the show. But the quick story of Broken is that it was a small short film shot for about $8,000, shot on MiniDV back in 2004. There was no high-end technology back then, so I was editing it on Final Cut, shot it on MiniDV. But what I did do was create a look for the film because of my post-production experience, and I took the format of MiniDV and did something really cool with it that a lot of people hadn't seen before. So what I did was did a lot of color grading and made it look, very filmic in the way it was. And a lot of filmmakers started asking me how I was doing it and how I did it. So when I released the trailer, like when I first started the movie, I had no plans on selling it. I don't think I didn't even understand what I was going to do with it. I just wanted to try to get it out there and see what would happen with it. But as I started posting it in places and posting the trailer in places, people kept asking me, how did you do those visual effects? Which, by the way, we did over 100 visual effects in this little short film. So people were asking me, how did you do the visual effects? How did you do how'd you make that camera look like that? I have that camera, which was the DVX 100A, the workhorse of its day. I still love that little camera. They were asking me how were you able to do it? I can't do it. I have that camera. What were your techniques? So that started giving me the idea. When I first was about to start doing Broken, I looked everywhere for some sort of resources to be able to make Broken, as far as like a DVD tutorial, something to show me how to make a MiniDV movie editing it on Final Cut, just something to teach you how to make independent film. And believe it or not, back in 2004, there wasn't a whole lot. There was actually nothing. I couldn't find a thing about how to make movies for that kind of budget with that kind of technology. YouTube was just, it's an infancy. It was just getting started. And it definitely wasn't owned by Google at the time, so the quality was really horrible as well. There was nothing there. So I saw that there was a hole in the marketplace. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to learn a whole bunch of stuff on how I did it along the way. And I documented everything. I had 2 documentary crews following us through the entire 5-day shoot. Documentary crews being my friends. And we shot just hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of behind the scenes footage of how we made this movie. So then I went on and spent about 6 weeks, I would imagine, to create over 3 hours or so of behind the scenes tutorials, kind of like a guerrilla film school, and put it on DVD. Now, while this was going on, I was creating a buzz about the movie. For about 6 months, I was creating a lot of buzz about the movie. I was getting into film festivals. We were winning awards. We were getting written up. We went to Sundance. We were just doing a whole bunch of different things with the film. And I was, unbeknownst to me, now I know this now, is like I was doing a product launch. A lot of people talk about doing a product launch online, there's a sequence that you go by. And I was doing it, and I didn't even know what I was doing at the time, but I was actually creating a product launch sequence, creating anticipation for the product. So when I started releasing, everybody was very excited about the movie. Then when I announced that I was creating this DVD about how to make the movie and how I made it and all the tricks and tips of how I did it, and it was so full of information, so full of rich content, the indie film community at the time really, really just embraced it and went crazy for it and started sharing it and started talking about it. People were already getting excited for it. I didn't even do any pre-orders. I should have done pre-orders. I didn't do any pre-orders. All I did was like, hey, if you want to know when it comes out, just sign up for my email list. And I was even getting email lists at the time, and that wasn't something in vogue back in 2004. So I was doing all this kind of instinctually. I can't say there was a master plan that I was doing this back then. But so anyway, the day opens that I launch it. All of a sudden, I just hear ding, 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 ding. All my emails keep coming in from PayPal. And we sold over 250 DVDs in the first day, which was about $5,000 because we were selling the DVD at $20 a pop. My partner and I had to run to the post office, handwrite all of the addresses, hand stamp all the addresses. We didn't have any infrastructure laid out, any printing of postage, nothing. So it was pretty crazy. And then it just kept building and kept selling and kept selling and kept building and kept building. But I was able to create a tremendous amount of press and a tremendous amount of energy around the product. But it was all about creating a piece of a product, if you will, that had content for people. Like, I know I wouldn't have been able to sell this short film by itself. It just didn't make any sense. It has no stars in it. Yeah, it's an action genre, and there's a lot of visual effects and things like that in it. But there was just no way someone was going to pay $5, $10, $20 to buy this on a DVD. There was no digital downloads, no VOD at the time. That was at least accessible to indie filmmakers like myself. So when I was able to do this, I was able to create this product that had a tremendous amount of content, and people just went crazy for it, and then start talking about it and start sharing it. And what I was able to do is we've ended up selling over 5,000 DVDs over the course of the years that have gone by. And it was all because I was able to identify a hole in the marketplace and understand what they wanted, and fed my marketplace, fed my audience what they wanted and what they were asking for. It was pretty humbling, honestly, the whole process of what happened with Broken. So I try to do something similar later on with my next film, Sin, where I was able to do some stuff on with some digital downloads through iTunes, but that was a kind of wonky way of doing it. I didn't create a bunch of content like I did with Broken. It wasn't as big of a movie. And then years later, I created my movie Red Princess Genesis, which is the animated prequel to Red Princess Blues, which is the live action short for my feature film that I hope to make one day. And I created a whole bunch of content around that. So what I decided to do recently is to create a brand new guerrilla indie film school encompassing all of my movies and giving you almost 7 hours of how-to stuff, like everything from pre-production, production, post-production, how to market your film. I do brand new content on how I marketed the films, how I went through it, how I built the websites, what techniques I used as far as theories, and the concepts that I used, why I was doing certain things, still hold very true today. So I put this all together under the name Lipstick and Bullets. Lipstick and Bullets was a Blu-ray compilation of all of the stuff I did, and released that in England. I got all the rights back, and now I'm going to distribute them as an experiment through Indie Film Hustle. So Indie Film Hustle will present the Guerrilla Indie Film School Lipstick and Bullets edition. So it's going to have a ton of stuff. It's available now if you head over to indiefilmhacks.com. That's indiefilmhacks.com. And since you're listening to this podcast, you're going to get a coupon for 20% off. Right now I'm selling it for $47. That will go up in the future. Right now it's an introductory offer. I think it's a super deal for that much content. Or you can rent it for $15. We're doing it all through VHX.tv. We're going to have a representative from VHX on the show in the coming weeks as well. So look out for that, explaining to you how to do video on demand or self-distribute through their platform, which is amazing so far. I love it. The coupon code is IFH Tribe. That's IFH Tribe, and you can get 20% off the sale price of $47. So it ends up being like $37 and change. So you get almost $10 off. So to wrap it up, guys, how I was able to create this kind of. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsor. And now back to the show. Amount of money with a short film is these key elements you have to remember. Now write these down. Understand your audience, understand where your audience is. Go to that area where they are, where they're hanging out, whether that be on Facebook groups, whether that be in on forums, at film festivals, wherever they might be hanging out, depending on who that group is. If it's about, I always use the vegan chef example, but if they're vegan chefs, go to the foodie blogs, there's just so many different places you can go. Just find out who your audience is, okay? Once you find out who your audience is, then start crowdsourcing them, start interacting with them, start asking them what they want. When you find that information out, then build a product that you can sell to them through your movie. So whatever that movie is, and I'm using the word product, but it's really your movie. So write the movie around it, around what they want, build a product base about what they want, whether that be hats, t-shirts, extra materials, film schools, whatever they want. If you're doing a movie about vegan chefs, a rom-com about vegan chefs, my God, you'd be a fool not to create a whole series of videos on how to make vegan, vegan recipes and show them how to do it, because that's what they want. That's something that they would want to do. If you're making a horror movie, it would be awesome to do tutorials about how you're making, the heads explode. How are you doing it? How you're making the fake blood recipes, stuff like that. Believe it or not, people really, really love, especially if you're focusing on other filmmakers or other people who are trying to do what you're doing. Once you do that, then you sell the product to them. And now how you sell that product to them in 2004, 2005, DVDs were the answer. There were no other options. Today, I would not suggest you do a DVD. It's not a great place to. It's a lot of upfront costs and time and all that stuff. I wouldn't do Blu-ray either. What I would do is strictly video on demand through companies like VHX, through Gumroad, through Vimeo Pro, any of those guys. Just do it directly to your consumer and cut out the middleman as much as you can with your project. And again, this is a case-by-case basis. Some projects have budgets that, this is a much longer conversation about which project makes sense to do VOD and do this. For a short film and what I was doing, it made perfect sense. I spent $8,000. I was able to recoup my money and then some with what I was able to do. If you were doing a $100,000 movie, you better have a heck of a marketing plan and a heck of a business plan on how you're going to be able to recoup your money. And that goes into crowdsourcing, crowd building, crowdfunding, all those kind of different topics. But that's how I was able to do, generate a tremendous amount of money, close to over $90,000 over the years, selling Broken Broken on DVD. And now I'm continuing to sell not only some of the hand-picked stuff from Broken that is still very relevant. I'm not going to give you a tutorial on MiniDV, but a lot of the cool stuff that was still very, very relevant today, I handpicked that by creating, and also created a bunch of stuff for Red Princess Genesis, Sin, and then marketing materials on how to market all of it, plus tons of commentary tracks on composing and visual effects and all that kind of stuff for indie film. So I also include in this Guerrilla Indie Film School my book, The Art of Broken. I've always been a big fan of all the art of books, like The Art of Matrix, Art of Sin City, and so on. And Ken Robkin and Dan Cregan and I put together this book with all of the artwork from not only Broken, but for the defunct feature film version of Broken. But there was so much artwork, and you can kind of see as an example of what can be done with a short film, for God's sakes. But it's another product line, and we did sell it hard copies of it during the days of Broken when it came out. We sold a handful of them, but I wanted to give this to you guys not only as an example of what can be done with a project, but also just for fun, for people who just want to see all this cool, amazing artwork all the artists did. I also include all the marketing materials of all the 4 movies that I did. So all the poster work, all the the kind of extras I did on the websites and things like that. So you can kind of see the progression of how I was able to market all of our films and how we were able to get into over 500 film festivals and so on. And on top of that, you also get my ebook on how to get into film festivals for cheap or free. And that gives you a complete detailed explanation of how I was able to get into over 500 film festivals. After the first 30 or so film festivals, I spent over $1,000 in submission fees for Broken. It was ridiculous. But after a certain time, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to, like, at this point in the game, any film festivals I get into after this, how much more are they going to like boost my career, boost the film? So I was like, you know what? At this point in the game, I'll be more than willing to pay a submission fee if I'm able to play in the movie. But just to pay to submit and just maybe I'll get into it, I wasn't playing that anymore. So I decided to create these techniques that worked very, very well. So you also get that in this package as well. It's a hell of a package. It really, really is a hell of a package. I would have killed to have it. And for the price, honestly, it's awesome. And you get to watch it as much as you want whenever you want to watch it. Again, head over to indiefilmhacks.com, and use that coupon code IFHTribe. So on a side note, guys, I wanted to thank you again for making this podcast the #1 filmmaking podcast on iTunes. I am humbled beyond all recognition. It's amazing that within a 3-month period, this little show has been able to rank all the way as to the #1 spot for filmmaking in iTunes. So I humbly thank all my listeners, all the tribe, all the Indie Film Hustle tribe for doing that. Thank you again so much for helping us get to that point. And please, if you love the show, or if you just want to give us an honest review, head over to iTunes, give us a review, give us a good rating, and that will help us even get more and more people to listen to the show and help more and more filmmakers. So thanks again, guys, for listening. I really hope this helped you guys out a lot, inspired you a little bit that it can be done. So keep that dream alive, keep that hustle going. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks for listening to the Indie Film Hustle podcast at indiefilmhustle.com. That's INDIEFILMHUSTLE.com.